Hi, in this video I will fully talk about the sketching of graph of an exponential function with linear power, right? Linear function power. So, alright, let's look at variety of function. For example, if I have 1 over 2 to the power of x, right? So as at the start of the video, for the previous video, I have mentioned that in my video, everything I will talk about a which is greater than 1, right? In the book, they will write a to be greater than 0, right? So my setting here is I will set that a is greater than 1, so that it's easy for me to teach you how to sketch a graph. Yes, this is, even though it's not greater than 1, it's not greater than 1, but this is still an exponential function because you have to write this, but this is greater than this, as long as this is positive power of x, this is an exponential function. So so I will make this to be 2 to the power of negative 1 to fit the definition here, my definition here. So I will make it to be 2 power of negative 1, 2 power of negative 1. 1 over 2 is not greater than 1, but I can make 1 over 2 become 2 power of negative 1, which is 2 power of negative x, right? Negative x. Then from here you can sketching the graph for fx equals to 1 over 2 to the power of x, which is this graph, right? Which is this one, which is fx equals to 2 to the power of negative x, which turned out to be this way. This is 1, right? So if you want to follow the method that I introduced, you have to make the number here become a number that are greater than 1. Alright, so let's move on to examples. We have more variety of example. I will keep giving you example. So if you have 2 to the power of negative half x, and you have negative here, okay? I just do it so that you have variety. So I plus 3. So what is the shape of this graph? What is the shape and how to sketch this graph? Very simple. In the previous video, I already talked about the simple and easy way of sketching an exponential function. The first step is you drawing the asymptote. So if you look, there is a negative here. If there is a negative here, the graph will not be above the horizontal asymptote. It will be always below the horizontal asymptote. So, and you know that the concept of a power of x, the graph have to be okay, this is something that you must know. So a power of x, the graph will be moving this way. So a power of negative x, number 2, a power of negative x, the graph will be moving in this way, right? Will be showing you in this way. So this will be your horizontal asymptote. But very simple, you just memorize these two curve, the shape of the curve. You can do every question for exponential function. For example, negative, you see negative, the graph will be below this horizontal axis, right? And you look at the negative here. The negative here tell you that the shape here negative, right? Negative. So if negative, this whole graph will be, if you put suppose the graph to be a power of negative x to be this way, right? If you put a negative here, the graph will be going below here, right? So it means that the graph will be moving this direction, right? But if this is positive, but this is negative, you know that it's always below the horizontal asymptote. And you look at the positive one, right? The positive one, the curve is supposed to be this way. But once you put negative, it will be always below the horizontal asymptote. So, but this case, it will be looked at this way. So number 2, you sketch the graph. Sketch the graph by locating the horizontal asymptote. If second step here, you look at the positive 3 here, right? So you draw a line which is 3, y equals to 3 above the x-axis. So the graph will be in this shape, right? In this shape. So, but you have to find the y-intercept so that you intercept the y correctly. It can be intercept at the positive value, 0 or maybe negative, right? So we don't know. So what we do is we find the y-intercept. Step 3, we find the y-intercept. Okay, y-intercept. Y-intercept means intersect the y-intercept. Y equals to x equals to 0. So you have y equals to, substitute here, you have negative 2 to the power of 0 plus 3, which will be negative 1 plus 3, right? 2 power of 0 is 1, so you have 2, right? So it means they will intersect at the positive value here, 2. So the graph will be moving such that this is the shape of the graph, alright? The shape of the graph. So easily you can determine the range. The range will be below 3, right? Below the y equals to 3. So means from negative infinity up to 3, right? Up to 3. So I was showing you more examples. Okay, let's continue with this. So as you know that ax or e to the power of x, the shape of the curve is always the same, right? A power of negative x will moving this way. So you have to understand this 4 first, okay? So let's say you have negative a to the power of x, right? Once you have negative here in front of the a or of the exponential function, it's always will not on top of the horizontal asymptote, the curve. So it will be below. So below it will either going this way or this way, right? So you look at a power of x, the shape of a power of x will be going this way, right? So once you put a negative here, the graph have to be in this way, right? So the fourth, I repeat again, let's say a to the power of negative x. If I put a negative here, again I said the negative here refer that the shape of the graph will not on top of the horizontal asymptote. It will be below here. So it will going this way or this way. It depends on this one. A power negative x going this way, right? Increase to the right. So of course, if you put negative here, they were reflected about the horizontal asymptote. Alright, this 4 you have to very good with. So okay, very easy. You look at this one. So the step 1, I go again. The step 1 here will be, you know there is a horizontal asymptote for exponential function. And you look at, there is a negative here. There is a negative in front of the exponential function. So the graph will not be on top of the horizontal asymptote. It will be below the horizontal asymptote, right? So then it have to be, look at it, e power of x, right? E power of x. E power of x is similar to this, which will be the shape of the graph will be going this way. But because of there is a negative here, it have to be reflected below the horizontal asymptote. So I know that the graph have to be moving this way, right? Can you see that? Right? So after that, the second step, this one must correct. Then only you transfer it into your axis, your coordinate axis here. So before that, you have to identify the horizontal asymptote. Again, look at the constant here, 3. So you put a 3 and you putting a dotted line. This is your horizontal asymptote. And the graph will not be on top of y equals to 3. So it will be moving this way. They will decrease to the right. So of course they will intercept the y-axis. So you have the third step, you have to find the y-intercept to complete the graph. Y-intercept, x will be equals to 0, right? X equals 0. So you put x equals 0, y equals to negative 2, e to the power of 0 plus 3. So you have negative 2 multiply 1 plus 3, which give you 1. Okay, they will be intercept at 1, and the graph is still the same. It have to go this way, right? So this is the, so this one you have to draw such that they're very near to the axis, getting nearer to the asymptote here. So the range here, the domain of course will be negative infinity to infinity, and the range will be negative infinity up to 3, right? It's from negative infinity up to 3, and after 3 there are no graph, right? So this is the way you sketch the graph. Okay, let's move on for the next example. Alright, let's continue with this example. Let's say you have 3e. Okay, 3e to the power of negative x plus 1 minus with 2. The same thing here, we just first we know that the step 1 will be for exponential function is always has a horizontal asymptote, right? Horizontal asymptote. And to decide whether they are on top of the horizontal asymptote, the graph, or below the horizontal asymptote, we look at the sign in front of the exponential function here. Without the number doesn't matter, but the positive here is tell you that the graph is not below the horizontal asymptote, is above the horizontal asymptote. And secondly, we look at the power here, the negative x. Don't care about the positive one here. Don't care about the positive one here. We look at the negative x here, right? The negative x here, which tell you this, right? This shape, all right? So negative x plus 2, as long negative 2x plus 5, anything negative half x plus 6. As long as the in front of x there is negative, the shape of the graph will be, it will be on top of the horizontal asymptote, right? Because of the positive here. But to decide whether they go to this direction or to that direction is based on the sign here. So negative x, so refer to this one. So you know that the shape of the graph will be in this way, right? Means the shape of the graph will be going this way. So secondly, without thinking too much, so we sketch the graph, right? Sketch the graph 0, and we look at the constant here, negative 2, right? Negative 2. So negative 2 means that at negative 2 here, I'm going to draw the line y equals to negative 2, which is your horizontal asymptote. Y equals to negative 2, right? And the graph will be moving this way. They were going this way. So they will intercept y-axis. So the third step, of course, you want to find the y-intercept, right? Y-intercept. So y-intercept x will be 0. X will be 0. So you have fx equals to 3e, the value of y here, 3e to the power of 0, right? To the power of 0. 3e power 1 plus 2, right? 3e power of 1 minus 2, sorry, minus 2. So this will be a positive number. Alright, if you're using calculator, this one will be a positive. 3e minus 2 is a positive number because this is 2.718. So 3 times this one minus 2, you will get a positive number. So it will be intercept above the x-axis here. Okay, let's say this one, you just roughly sketch 3e minus 2 here, the value you can get from calculator, and you're sketching, then you know the graph will going this way, right? It will be going this way. So the range, there are no graph below the negative 2, y equals to negative 2, the line y equals to negative 2, but it's on top, right? From negative 2, but cannot touch negative 2 up to infinity. So it's from negative 2 up to infinity here. Alright, I think that's good enough to show you how to sketch the graph for exponential function. For further question that you want to ask, we can discuss in class.